Hey guys, Hippopotamus here. I'm back with another build video. Today I'm going to be showing my Lengmo DPS build. So this is for PvP, but I will quickly go through how you could set this up for PvE, which should be, quite easy. It's just one piece change. Although farming the pieces for this build, I've got to say I don't actually have this build fully perfect myself. There's still one piece that I'm looking for. So I'll just pre-warn you, it is quite difficult to get some of the pieces for this build, but when you can put it together, boy does it hit. Okay, so let's start the normal way, and what we'll do is we will go to the specialization. We are using the demolitionist, and I'm using this for a few different reasons. First of all is just the burn resist, because I am quite weak when it comes to sort of health. I'm using glass cannon, so any kind of status is going to hurt. So if we can get any kind of resistance, that's great. The medkit is quite nice because the weapon handling, again with LMGs and rifles, which we're using, they kind of reload kind of slow. So in a pinch, if you put on the medkit and then sort of need to do a little bit of shooting straight after, which is usually the case, it's going to help out with your weapon handling just a tiny little bit. The grenades, they're kind of useless, if I'm honest. I would switch to the regular grenade. They're only good for proccing bleed on enemies, so not really that useful, but it's something that's there. We've got some extra grenades that we can use. Um, so, the Demolitionist Tactical Link. So this is great because basically group members gain 5% damage to targets out of cover, which is helping the team. Very, very nice. We also have Brace for Impact. Now, because we are super duper squishy, we can ignore explosions. It can only happen once every 60 seconds. But sometimes if you get hit with an explosion, because we're so weak, it will literally, and there's no other way to put it, put you on your ass. So this can save your life. It's quite useful. The crisis response we're going to see quite a lot more usage out of, because when our armor is reduced to 0, it refills all main weapon clip ammo. So if we have the Pestilence and we're down to like say 10, 15 bullets and all our armor breaks, that's going to instantly refill the magazine. And that's quite handy in PvP. That refilling the magazine is actually a very, very useful trait. It might win you a gunfight here and there. Not going to sort of game breakingly changing that big, but it could help a lot, in certain cases. So, the one thing to note is I am actually using this small laser pointer, and you can see that I don't have the SMG unlocked. So this is a glitch. You could use the 5% one if you don't have that set up that way, or you could unlock the SMG. But yes, I do use this thing here, so that's kind of important to notice, so I do want to point that out. The other thing is that I'm using assault rifles, LMGs and rifles. Okay, so those are the main things. I have synergizing weapons there. Sorry about the little slip up. Right, if I can talk properly, let's go down to the range and go through the build, and go through all the usual bits. So let's take a look at the build. So the weapons that I'm using, the first one is the Baker's Dozen. This comes rolled with rifle damage, crit hit damage, and damage to targets out of cover. The talent is Perfect Lucky Shot, so the magazine capacity is increased by 30%, and missing shots from cover have a 100% chance to return to the magazine. So this basically means I can just fire this weapon with reckless abandon. Doesn't matter if I hit something, then I'm doing damage, and if I don't, then I get the bullet back and I'm not wasting any ammo at all. It's quite handy. It synergizes quite nicely because we are using the Fox's Prayer, so using a rifle, it seems kind of sensible to take advantage of that. And it also kind of comes with crit damage as well, which is something that we're going to be chasing. You'll see the formula that we're chasing here. This thing, it does hit. It hits for good numbers, so useful. One thing I will say is that you could have the same weapon or something similar, any kind of rifle with preservation. That would just be as good if you put preservation on, because what that would do for you is allow you to get kills quickly, but also repair yourself. I do know a few people that have builds like this, and they use a rifle with preservation just because it's a way of getting a bit of extra healing. Okay, so the star of the show is obviously the Pestilence, and this is basically just the gun that we're building around with this build. You'll see more as we go on, but the main point is that we're trying to increase the LMG damage just so we can get the most out of this talent. So let's go through the gun. I've got 24 ranks into it. You don't need this, but the more ranks you can put into it, the better it will be. I will say that. So this comes with LMG damage, damage to targets out of cover, and damage to armor, so the Holy Trinity. And the talent is Plague of the Outcast. So hits applies a debuff dealing 100%, and this is the important part, weapon damage over 10 seconds, up to 50 times. So it stacks up to 50 times, alright? So whenever an enemy dies, this debuff, 100% of the stacks will transfer to a nearby enemy within 25 meters. So again, like I've said, the thing that makes the Plague of the Outcast do more damage is based upon your weapon damage. So the more weapon damage you have, the harder this is going to hit. Okay, so go on to the pistol, and surprise, surprise, I'm using the TDI card. It's just for the extra skill tier. Again, I've gone through this numerous times. When you hold it in your hand, it's giving me an extra skill tier. So it's one extra shot in my hive to throw to a teammate and then still pick up the hive, or pick up two teammates if we're unfortunate enough for something bad to happen. It's also going to allow me to, with the talent that I've got on it, Reformation, grants 60% skill repair for 15 seconds. So this is going to increase my repair off my drone for 60%. Which is really, really good. I think this is bugged because skill repair and repair skill are two separate things. However, Reformation does increase your healing. I have tested this 100%, and yeah, Reformation is an excellent talent that will increase your healing. But I think it's a mistake on the developer's part. They've messed up the word in there on that talent, but it does increase your healing. Anyway, enough of that. Let's start with the build. So I'll start with the Lengmo pieces. Again, the reason why we're using these is chasing that 3-piece buff, which is the LMG damage. But if we wear one piece of it, we gain 20% explosive resistance. If we wear two pieces of it, we've got skill health, and 3 pieces is that all-important LMG damage at 30%. I've got mine rolled with weapon damage, crit hit chance, crit hit damage, and a crit hit chance mod. Moving on to the holster, which is my second piece of Lengmo. It comes with weapon damage, crit chance, and crit damage. And then moving on to the backpack, this is the unicorn that I can't seem to find, unfortunately. This is the best that I can do. However, I'll go through what I would like to have on it if I had it. So this comes rolled with weapon damage, and it has crit hit damage, which is great. It also has a crit hit chance mod, but unfortunately I have repair skill. Now, although this isn't completely wasted, I don't even want to sort of optimize this up because I'm looking for one with crit hit chance, crit hit damage. And finding one with vigilance on it, with crit hit chance, crit hit damage, and then being able to roll the top, because Lengmo always comes with a blue on the top, is as rare as rocking or shit, as might as well put it, because me finding one of those pieces is yeah, it's rare. However, I did say at the start of the video that there is an alternative for using this build in PvE, and the way that you can do that is if you use the backbone. Now, the backbone, it comes with perfect unstoppable force, and that will give you more damage than vigilance or any of the other talents as long as you get those 5 kills. I think it's 35%, and you will get those kills. So if you're using this in PvE, my advice would probably to go for the backbone, because getting double crit with a talent that never changes is probably quite easier than having to try and find a piece like this. But in PvP, the reason why I'm using vigilance is because I can't rely on getting 5 kills. 5 kills is just not going to happen, especially the way that I'm set up. But I pull this out when I'm in a group or 2 groups are fighting, and I sit back and sit between the groups and use this for damage, and the damage that it does is absolutely disgusting. Vigilance is part of that, so obviously getting that increased damage when we don't take damage is very, very useful. But just remember backbone if you're using it in PvE. Okay, so on to the next piece. I'm using a piece of Petrov, which is the contractor's glove. This gives us, really importantly, LMG damage. Comes rolled with weapon damage, damage to armor at 8%, which is best in slot, and then we have crit hit damage rolled onto the bottom. I'm using the Fox's Prayer because obviously we're using a rifle. Again, that damage to targets out of cover is something that we can't get anywhere else. It's synergizing. and gives us that extra damage that we need. This is weapon damage and crit hit damage, so yeah, that's quite important. Now, notice I left the chest piece right until the end. This one might be highly contested, and you can use whatever you please. I am using the Providence Defense, the Sacrifice, and that is because of the talent. But you could have pretty much anything you want here. You could have Cheska, you could have Grupo, you could even have a Bellstone or a anything that gives you armor on kill, which would be fine. So you can mix it up and match it however you like. The reason I'm doing this is because of the talent Perfect Glass Cannon. And Perfect Glass Cannon, what it does is you deal 30% more damage and you take 60% more, but you must note that that is amplified damage. So those numbers are slightly higher in actuality. Okay, so with all that said, which seems like an absolute mouthful, let's talk about the skills. So, goes without saying, I am so squishy that a stray fart could probably knock me over. So, I'm using a Reviver Hive. This seems to make sense. In PvP, you say a Reviver Hive in PvP. Yeah, a Reviver Hive in PvP. If you're far enough away from the enemy, you have got a chance to get up. If you're at close, you might as well just forget it. But given that, and the fact that I do use this build in PvE as well, a Reviver Hive seems to be a very sort of common sense skill. You might want to switch this out for the decoy if you are in PvP. That would also be a great choice. But yeah, the Hive, I can count on both hands how many times this has saved me, so it is quite useful, and you'd be surprised at how many times it can help you in PvP, as long as you play range. Okay, so the other skill that I have is the Fixer Drone. You might want to use the Defender Drone, that would be absolutely fine. However, I feel like sort of blocking damage at this point with Glass Cannon is pretty much pointless. It's just not really going to help you the same way. This Fixer Drone, all it's going to do for me is just give me a little bit of healing that I could have otherwise got from maybe Preservation or something like that if I was using that on the talent, but I'm not killing enemies, so maybe this way might be better. The Healer Drone is just going to give me a slow trickle heal, and what I can do is just shoot an enemy in the head with my pistol, and not only is it going to increase the skill tier whilst I'm holding the pistol, but the headshot is also going to give it 60% skill repair, so it's going to increase it quite a lot. If we look at the actual skill, we can actually probably get an idea of how much that's actually helping us. So we can see armor repair 20, 40, 60. So you can see that's like actually having 3 extra skill tiers just for shooting an enemy in the head. Effectively is pretty much the same. So yeah, quite useful, and that helps in PvE and PvP. We also have the fragmentation grenades, probably better off just switching to the regular concussion grenades, but you know, getting enemies bleeding is also kind of useful. Right, so enough with all the talk, let's get down to the range. Let's have a look. Oops a daisy, we are on normal, so let's go heroic, and then what we'll do is, let's just check if the modifiers are on. Let's just turn these off if they are. Okay, so deactivate, we're in combat, but what I'm going to do is just also turn the skill haste off, because that's always seems to be on. Let's just come out here, and let's just deactivate these so you don't see fake numbers, because of the modifier, seasonal modifiers. Right, now we're at a baseline, we can have a look at what the numbers are actually hitting for. So let's go through the stat sheet. Perfectly Lucky, Plague of the Outcasts, Reformation. Just quickly show you the damage numbers and the crit chances. Again, I'd be at 46 if I had that better backpack, which is quite upsetting, but still, it's reasonable for what it is. Okay. So, all weapons damage bonus is very, very high. Okay. So we're using Vigilance and Perfect Glass Cannon. Again, on the Sacrifice, you gain headshot damage. Just want to say, because I didn't think I actually went through this, the 13% weapon damage, headshot damage that you get, it's not a waste if you shoot at the head. It's just not always going to happen all the time. So to get the better talent, but take headshot damage for it, in my opinion, is worth it. Okay, so on to the brand set pieces, or gear set pieces, if you had any. In this case, we don't. We're using 3 pieces of Lengmo. We're using the Providence, and again, just went through that, the 13% headshot damage that I'm gaining to gain the perfect glass cannon talent. If you shoot at the head, it can be worth it. If that seems like something that you don't want to do, maybe use a piece of Grupo with glass cannon, or however you want to sort of wangle it, that's okay. You could use a piece of Lengmo if you had that with glass cannon and swap one of the pieces round. Maybe you've got something better. We're using the Contractor's Glove because obviously it gives us LMG damage and that armor damage. And the Overlord, which is the Fox's Prayer, because we use a rifle and it gives us the damage to targets out of cover. Armor is low, and especially considering the fact that we have glass cannon, we are going to snap like crazy if we take any damage. You know, you have to stay out of the line of sight, but when you can put damage on an enemy, boy, do you put them down, it's quick. So, yeah. Alright, so we don't have a lot of skill haste or any skill power really at all, but again, we've gone through the reasons why we're using things. The drone is kind of weak, but if you hold the pistol in your hand, you know, you can get that skill tier up, and all of a sudden it becomes a little bit more viable. It does give you a little bit more healing. Maybe I'll go through that in just a second. Right, so let's get an appropriate target to shoot at. Okay, so we can see our damage numbers. Chest 2.8 on a crit, 1.14 sorry on a regular. Again, shooting at the head is what we're going to be rewarded for because of the chest piece. And again, if we miss our shots, we're not losing any ammo whatsoever. But aiming for the head is definitely going to help us. Okay, so about 700,000 on a crit, about 220,000, maybe 250,000 on a chest hit. And then if we aim for the head, nearly about 1 million, yeah. Okay, 620,000, so definitely good. So what we're going to do is now we're going to stack a target up with these stacks. You can see that ticking away. Okay, so you can see that I'm getting 1.5 million a tick in PvE. You can get that number higher, okay? I know there's going to be people in the comments, oh, mine does 1.6, 1.8 million. Yes, you can get that higher. There is a way to do that. I believe the way to get 1.6 is to use the backbone, as we discussed, and then what you can do is you can use the, let me look at the name of the piece, you use the Sawyer's knees, because effectively you're gaining 2 red cores. So the Sawyer's knees, if you stay in place, they will give you an extra 30% damage, so that's another way round that you can get more damage and still have a red core, blue core as well. Okay, so a couple of other things to go through. Again, we have the drone. If we shoot an enemy in the head, that's going to increase our skill healing, but unfortunately in the range it's impossible to proc that. Even though we shoot an enemy in the head, you can see that, oh, unfortunately no reformation, so we're just seeing baseline healing here. But again, it's not to be sniffed at. I mean, if you're sat in cover and you hurt and you don't have any medkits, this might potentially save your life. Okay, the other things to note just is the grenades. Like I said, maybe you want to switch them out. And other than that, it's a damage build. When you put this on, try and stay back, stay at the back of the group, make sure that you're not getting shot at, but when you do put damage out, boy can you hit hard. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed that one. Sorry it's been a little bit longer, there's been a few things to discuss and some interchangeable pieces on this build, so you know that's part of the reason why it's taken a little bit longer. Okay guys, thanks very much for watching. I've got a couple more videos coming out today, and I will see you in the next one.